Hello, and thanks to everyone for tuning back into today's episode of the Hirewell Update. I'm your host, Ryan Brown, Vice President of our Corporate Functions team, and this is my co-host.
I'm Emily Canna, working on that. I am Director on our go-to-market recruiting team.
Before we kick off the show, you can find all of our content at talentinsights.hirewell.com, or if you'd like to learn more about Hirewell and our service offerings, check out our website, www.hirewell.com. Hey there, Em, how are ya?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well too. I don't think I'm quite used to the new countdown. So for everyone that's watching, we utilize a platform called StreamYard, and we have had the same countdown music for 5 years maybe, and they recently switched it up, and it throws me for a loop every time we record now because of that.
Every time you could see me probably giggling in the waiting room because I was like, what is, every time it comes on, I'm like, oh, this is new and fun.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a minute since we've jumped on and filmed an episode. We're excited about today because we have a special guest, which is rare for the Hirewell Update nowadays, but we're halfway through Q2, which is insane to think about. So what better time to do a Q1 recap? I don't know. What do you say?
It's rare we get to bring this person on, but what do you say we bring in Mr. Matt Massuci?
Well, let's bring him on in. Hey there, Matt. How are you?
I'm great. How you ladies doing?
We're doing well. It's great to have you on the show. You are one of our favorite guests, and most of the time our only guest.
I was going to say, I think I'm your only guest, but I'll still take favorite. So
favorite only, it's the same thing, right?
All an honor. It's nice to see you sitting. I kept my walking treadmill behind me as a reminder. We're in a very intense walking competition, and Matt and I are early meeting today, just both walking along. So nice to see us not bobbing.
Yeah, I know. I was debating doing it just to prove a point, but my vanity wouldn't allow me to walk and look like a doofus.
So. Sure, our viewers would actually probably really enjoy it, but glad to be sitting for a few minutes. It's sort of silly that we even have you introduce yourself still at this point, but we introduce ourselves still every show. So we'd love maybe for you to start just by introducing yourself to the folks watching.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm Matt Massuci, founder and CEO of Hirewell.
Who's celebrating 24 years, by the way.
It was our 24th anniversary. It's like right around May 3rd, I believe. So yeah, I said in the company meeting, at this point, company anniversaries are sort of like birthdays. And when they hit a certain number, you don't like celebrate them quite as much as you used to. So. But, it's monumental enough. And then next year, God willing, it'll be 25 years. So we'll have to do something special for that.
Absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to celebrating that for sure. But we're excited to have you on today. We're excited we've made it 24 years. But we really want to cover things from an organizational standpoint and just kind of like company-wide trends that we've seen. So Matt, fill us in. What's been going on?
Yeah. It's, we talk a lot about what are we seeing in the market? And, as you said, we're halfway through May, and I feel like it's been 2 years in one, if not more. So we had some pretty grandiose plans going into the year. And, and then quite honestly, January and February weren't that good. Not terrible, but just a little soft. They're down year over year, which is never a fun thing, especially when you're forecasting some growth. Then March was good, right? I mean, I think we were kind of the first 2 months we were down, 15%. March, we made up almost all of that. We're up 25%. So, overall positive. I think we were down, 5% year over year. So not great, but we just, the amount of geopolitical and sort of random stuff we've had to deal with over the last few years. We had another one pop up with the Liberation Day and the, tariffs. And it was, the thought of it was terrifying. Obviously, when you see the stock market drop 10% in 2 days, you're just sort of waiting for the shoe to drop when it comes to hiring. And we did have like a week of just slowness. Like our new searches was like a third of what it usually was. We had a couple projects get paused. I'm like, oh God, here we go again. But then interestingly enough, it's sort of, even before the pauses and different things, it kind of quickly reverted to business as usual. So again, it's still the same thing. It's a little spotty. It's a kind of company by company. But, it wasn't like it was a massive change where, oh my God, the sky's falling and nobody's hiring. So all in all, kind of where we're at May 14th or whatever day it is, I think, okay. I think, I guess I'll save the future prediction for the end and keep our listeners and watchers tuned in. But again, I think it's been a little bit up and down. So yeah, I guess, but I'd like to talk about the high level stuff or kind of the big picture, but I'd love to hear from you both. What are you seeing kind of in your practices? I admit I'm a little bit more removed from that. So Ryan, let's talk corporate functions.
All things corporate functions, my favorite thing to talk about. Well, it's been an interesting quarter plus, as you mentioned, Matt. It feels like every week is kind of a new experience. But what we've seen overall from the corporate function side is deal volume's been up 60%, which is phenomenal. But interestingly enough, our billings have only gone up year over year 3%. And I think there's a couple factors that contribute to that. One, we've seen more volume and more interim hiring and fewer higher level roles. And that's definitely contributed to what I just mentioned in terms of those metrics. What's been exciting is we've put up some of the biggest numbers of new logos. Almost half of our new logos across the company have come from the corporate functions team, which has been really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I can kind of dig into go-to-market things since I know those are our areas of expertise. But on the go-to-market side of things, kind of similar, actually. Deal volume has been up, but our billings were slightly down in the first quarter. It'll actually be interesting to see what those numbers look like in quarter two, because I think we've been off to a really strong start. I know, again, we're breadcrumbing a little bit. We'll save the future predictions, what's happening in quarter two so far. But I think we've just seen a lot of like big volume hiring engagement. So less high level roles. I think honestly, those numbers are probably due to like even one really huge engagement that we've been working on, hiring a ton of like retail associates, which is different for us, but just high volume, lower level positions. And I know you mentioned a lot of the, like most of the new logos came from corporate functions. I think actually the second number of new logos came from the go-to-market side of things, with like it being like a third of all new logos at the company.
Absolutely. For the industrial team, I'm excited to touch base on this one, because I've actually partnered with this practice quite a bit over the last couple of months, which has been fun. Overall, deal volume has been a little bit lower for our industrial practice, but our billings have been up quite a bit, which is super exciting. And I think the majority of the reason of, why we're seeing kind of those trends is that we've seen a lot of solutions type projects within this space, and also higher level searches as well. So maybe a contributing factor to kind of what we've seen across the board there.
Interesting. And I can share what's been going on with tech. I know I'm certainly not the tech expert, but
don't worry.
I try to stay in tune for sure. I'd say overall, like probably not surprising to those watching, like volume and billings have been down year over year. It's been a pretty soft tech market for the first quarter and a half, but kind of like you were alluding to at the beginning, Matt, like things like really seem to have stabilized, which is a good thing. We like when things are not going down. So stabilization is good.
That's business on 101, but I appreciate it. Yeah, like I think when
Never
things are not going down, that's how we like our metrics to look.
Great.
But 100% agree. And yeah, I think that's a good segue into like, what are we seeing going forward, right? As I mentioned before, like there were moments in time in April where I was definitely extremely nervous, just thinking like, oh crap, we didn't have an amazing Q1, and then what are these tariffs going to do to us? And I still don't think we know. And again, the last thing I want to do is make this political and try to get into the mind of the person running our country. But I think there's businesses hate uncertainty, whether it be to do deals or to hire people. Clearly, that's what we are most tied into. And so I think, as I said, April, we don't have our final numbers, but they're looking good. I mean, they were bigger than March. March was solid for us. April appears to be bigger. But I think the interesting thing is, when we're kind of looking at the year over year stuff, last year, Q1 was quite good, and then Q2 was soft. So like we started the year really strong, and there's a little bit of a lull, and then things picked up in the back half of the year. And so I think Q2 and Q1 are going to be inverted, where Q1 was a little soft, but Q2 is looking much, much better. And again, we're obviously April's done. That was a big improvement. I think it's going to show we're up 35% from April 24. Obviously, we're only halfway through May, but the two trends that I look at, and I've talked about a lot in the company, the best forward-looking things for us are searches launched and then acceptances, right? Obviously, acceptances means somebody takes a job is going to be started. That means we send an invoice, which is good. And then searches launch is something a little bit more early stage. We don't fill everything we take on, but we fill a lot of them, and that's a good sign of what it's looking like. As I mentioned, we had a really low month, kind of that first week of April, and that had me nervous. But the last 2 weeks of the year have been our biggest of the year. So, last week of April, first week of May. Last week of April, I think was 25% above target. First week of May was, almost 50% above target. So I guess we're going to just say that's going to be the trend going forward, and everybody's just going to blow the numbers up by 50%. Can I hold you to that?
Totally, Matt. Yeah, no
Good.
pressure at all.
Yeah,
Totally
no pressure.
on
And
that.
but I think the other indication too, you're saying those kind of indicators of like, new roles launched and acceptances. I think you said were two big indicators. Other couple indicators, we've had a ton of new logos even recently in the past few weeks. And even if I'm not looking at the quantitative data, we talk about them weekly in meetings. And I'm like, wow, recently there have been a lot of people talking about new logos. So I think that's another good indication of the positive trajectory. Another one, which is maybe a little bit more subjective, we feel really busy. Like I know that's maybe sounds like not a great like data point, but there are days where I'm like, wow, I need to be finding things to do and getting out there and reaching out to people. And there are days where I'm like, I didn't have time to eat lunch today. So might not be like the most concrete data point, but I'd like to, put that one out there just in terms of overall busyness.
What do you see and what do you think, Ryan? But I agree. That's, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, that intangible is definitely an indicator that things are moving in a positive direction. But I totally agree. And, I think this year it's going to be up and down. I feel like with what we're seeing right now, things are really positive, and we're certainly going to ride that wave of momentum and capitalize on it as much as we can. If you're a job seeker, now is definitely the time for you to be active in the market. And if you're an organization that's looking to hire, now's the time for sure. I think this is the type of year where you're going to make a hiring decision. I think you have to do it quickly and efficiently, because as we've seen, so much has changed even week over week with the economy and the job market. So I think in terms of just any advice for organizations looking to hire, it's to make those decisions quickly, effectively, efficiently. And I'm excited to see what the rest of the quarter has to offer. It's definitely been a better Q2 than it has Q1.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we've other kind of big news. We're switching over to a new CRM. So hopefully we'll have better data, Emily, to not just feel busy, but the data will support it.
It all counts. It's all, you got your qualitative data, your quantitative, but, count it. But no, we are excited about the new CRM too. And hopefully things continue to trend positively.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, good. Well, great to see you both. I don't know if there's anything else. I feel like we nailed it all, but yeah. And again, for all those, I think you hit it well, Ryan. For anybody who's looking to hire, get in touch. I mean, it's important to have a plan. It's important to have a great partner, and we think we can help with both of those.
Absolutely. We definitely can. Well, Matt, it was great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you for the official Q2 wrap in Q3. So we'll look forward to having you back then.
Wonderful. All right. Good to see you both.
Thanks, Matt.
Well, an exciting show, as always, whenever Matt Massuci drops by. We love to do those recaps and just kind of assess where things are at and light predictions. I think we used to be a little bit more bold in our predictions in previous years. Maybe
now we're too scared to be. Yeah.
We've learned our lessons, or it's been a wild ride so far in 2025, but an exciting one nonetheless.
I think we've been saying that for a couple of years now.
Yeah, maybe 5 years at this point. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll still try to make the predictions. We don't have a crystal ball. We're not always going to be right, but we'll still throw some things out there, and excited to have Matt on next quarter to talk about how we did with our predictions and make some new ones.
Absolutely. Well, I think that wraps us up for today. Do you want to take us home?
I would be happy to take us home. That's a wrap for this week's episode of the Hirewell Update. Thank you all so much for joining us. As a reminder, you can find all of our content at talentinsights.hirewell.com. Or if you'd like to learn more about Hirewell and our service offerings, check out our website. It's www.hirewell.com. We appreciate you joining, and we hope you tune in next time. We'll see you then.
See you then.